Crowned Among the Stars by David Russo. Chapter 1. The Invitation. The twin suns had just begun their descent behind the rust-colored cliffs when Isla heard the sound, not the whistle of desert wind, not the hum of the irrigation lines, but a sharp, shimmering tone that vibrated in her bones more than her ears. She looked up from the irrigation control panel, shielding her eyes with a gloved hand. A glint of gold flickered against the fading sky. Then it dropped, drifted, down like a falling star, right toward her. It landed silently in the sand, a floating envelope, glimmering like it had been stitched from strands of starlight. Isla blinked. "What in all the moons?" she whispered, stepping closer. The envelope hovered at eye level, perfectly still despite the hot breeze. Emblazoned on the front, in luminous lettering, "To Isla of Theros 9, you are summoned." With hesitant fingers she reached out. The moment she touched it, the envelope dissolved into 1,000 pinpricks of light, swirling around her before reforming into a holographic scroll. A tall, elegant being appeared within the light, their features fluid, shifting like water and glass. Their voice echoed as though speaking across the stars. "Greetings, Isla of Theros 9. You have been chosen to represent your world in the 407th Celestial Crown Pageant, the most illustrious celebration of unity, culture, and cosmic beauty in the known galaxy. Prepare for departure. Transport arrives in 1 solar cycle. We look forward to witnessing your brilliance." The hologram vanished. Isla stood frozen, mouth slightly open, dust clinging to her boots. She glanced at the silent farming compound behind her. The windmills, the cactus vines, the cracked solar panels. She muttered, "There must be some mistake." That evening, she told her grandfather over stew. He stared at her across the table, expression unreadable. "The celestial crown?" he said slowly, setting down his spoon. "I know. It's ridiculous. You think it's ridiculous to be seen? To be celebrated?" His bushy gray brows lifted. "Maybe the stars see something in you that you don't. I fix water lines and chase sand rats out of the greenhouse. And still, they chose you?" She was quiet for a moment, chewing her lip. "What if I don't fit in there? What if I mess it all up?" Her grandfather reached across the table, his calloused hand warm over hers. "Then you'll show them what a girl from Theros 9 is made of." That night, Isla stepped outside and looked up at the stars. So many they made the sky shimmer like a sea of diamonds. Somewhere up there, a ship was already on its way, and for the first time the desert felt small. Chapter 2. Limo in the Sky. The next morning, the sky split open. It wasn't violent, not thunder or fire, but precise, like a ribbon being cut by invisible scissors. A sleek, obsidian craft slid through the atmosphere, leaving behind a trail of glittering silver vapor that shimmered against the blue dawn. It didn't roar or rattle. It sang, low and harmonic, like a choir made of machines and memory. Isla stood on the ridge above the compound, pack slung over her shoulder. Heart trying to beat its way out of her chest, the craft slowed as it neared, adjusting its angle in a lazy spiral before hovering a few feet above the ground. It looked nothing like the cargo haulers or rusty trade shuttles she'd grown up watching sputter across the horizon. This was long and elegant, with rounded chrome curves and starlight embedded into its hull. A floating limousine. A panel hissed open on the side. A staircase of light unfurled onto the sand. Then came the driver. He stepped down with inhuman grace, all matte silver plating and glowing blue eyes. He wore a dark tailored suit with an iridescent tie that shifted colors depending on the angle. When he spoke, his voice was velvet over steel. "Miss Isla of Theros 9," he said with a slight bow. "I am chauffeur unit 7L1V3, but most passengers find Sylve easier." Isla tried not to gape. "You're a limo driver?" "I'm many things. But today, yes, your transport, your assistant." And, if you'd like, your playlist curator. She blinked. You have playlists? Sylv tilted his head. Thousands, ranging from Nebula jazz to Andromedan heartbreak ballads. I took the liberty of crafting one based on your personal listening habits. Would you like the title? Sure. Sandstorms and Soft Rebellion. Okay, that's actually good, thank you. Shall we depart? Alla looked back once at the dusty cliffs, the windmills, the solar fields, and the figure of her grandfather, tiny in the distance, lifting one arm in farewell. She waved back, throat tight, then turned toward the steps of light. The interior of the ship was impossibly wide, with gravity softly shifting as she entered. Cushioned seats, velvet drapes, floating drink trays, and a panoramic ceiling displaying a view of the stars even before they'd left the ground. As they lifted off, Isla pressed her hand against the glass. The ground shrank fast. The cliffs that had once towered over her now looked like toys scattered on a red rug. Sylv glanced back from the front console. Would you like to meet the other contestants? What now? Some are already en route. I can open a comms link. Or, he added, you may enjoy the mystery. Isla hesitated. Mystery sounds safer. Very well. Though, for what it's worth, one of them already tried to flirt with the pilot of her transport. He's a tentacle-based species. She didn't mind. Ayla laughed, then instantly regretted it. Wait, are they all? Is everyone? From across the galaxy? Yes, no two contestants are from the same planet. Diversity is a fundamental principle of the pageant. He glanced at her in the mirror. Worried? Maybe you shouldn't be. Not everyone was raised in glass towers. Some come from acid lakes and ice prisons. One once ruled a swarm of sentient bees. Oh, cool, Isla said faintly. I irrigate cactus vines, exactly. A rare skill set. The stars ahead seemed to ripple, and the ship picked up speed, slipping into faster-than-light travel. The panoramic ceiling darkened, then bloomed into a radiant map of constellations dancing around them. Isla leaned back in the velvet seat, the weight of her dusty world slowly falling off her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she was headed toward the stars, not just watching them, and somewhere out there, the rest of the galaxy was watching back. Chapter 3. Welcome to Verilex. The descent into Verilex didn't feel like arriving on a planet. It felt like sinking into a dream. Isla pressed against the glass of the panoramic ceiling as the ship glided through a soft pink atmosphere. Giant crystalline structures jutted from floating islands, refracting sunlight into rainbows across the sky. Waterfalls streamed upward into the air. Forests of glass-leafed trees shimmered on the horizon. Cities floated, humming softly, suspended by invisible energy. Is any of this real? She asked, awestruck. Sylv gave a slight smile without turning from the controls. Define real. Touchable? Mostly. The ship dipped beneath a cloud canopy, revealing the heart of Verilex, a sprawling, circular city made of golden rings and concentric gardens, hovering above a lake of shifting violet mist. In the center, a towering spire of mirrored light rose so high it disappeared into the sky. Isla squinted. Is that? The crown spire, Sylv confirmed. Home of the celestial crown pageant. Living quarters, training halls, media hubs, and of course, Madame Cora's residence. The name made Isla sit up straighter. She's real? I thought she was like a myth. Or an AI. She may be both. Or neither. You'll see. The limo docked at a floating platform surrounded by white plumes of mist. Sylv opened the door with a flourish. Welcome to Verilex, Miss Isla. The moment she stepped out, her boots touched living stone, warm, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Petals floated past on an artificial breeze that smelled faintly of citrus and static. Then a voice, smooth and crystalline, echoed across the platform. Isla of Theros 9. Welcome to the celestial crown. A figure emerged from the mist. Or perhaps it glided forward without walking. Her body was draped in fluid robes that shifted color with every step, and her face. Well, it wasn't quite a face at all, more a moving mask of stars, constantly rearranging itself into unfamiliar constellations. Ala swallowed. Madame Quora? Quora inclined her head. In this shape, yes. Isla tried not to stare too hard. Thank you for inviting me. Thank the selection currents, Quora replied, voice like wind over glass. They do not choose lightly. You are here because your presence will stir the pattern. Ala blinked. The pattern of? Quora's smile was unreadable. All things. Before Isla could respond, another figure barreled out of the mist, tall, with sea-green skin, fins on her elbows, and glowing eyes. Ooh, finally! The girl huffed. My transport got stuck in a gravity loop around a dumb moon. I'm Tavi, from Cherry 7. She stuck out a webbed hand. Isla shook it, stunned. Isla, Theros 9. Tavi looked her over. Desert planet? You give off serious cactus energy. I like it. More figures began appearing from the mist. A graceful being with floating gemstones for hair. A boy made of smoke wrapped in fine silks. And someone who shimmered in and out of phase like a bad transmission. Quora's voice echoed again, louder this time. Contestants of the Celestial Crown, welcome to Verilex. Your suites await. Orientation begins at dusk. Until then, she gestured, and holographic butterflies exploded into the air, forming glowing words in every known language. Be beautiful. Be brilliant. Be true. Then she vanished, leaving only petals in her wake. Inside the crown spire, Isla followed Sylve through glistening halls of light and crystal, each corner humming with distant music. The place felt alive. The walls changed color when she walked past, and glowing symbols pulsed under her fingertips when she brushed them. Her suite overlooked a floating garden, with a sky full of unfamiliar stars. She set her bag down on the plush bed, exhaled, and looked at her reflection in a silver panel. Be beautiful, she muttered. Be brilliant. Be true. Then she frowned. I have no idea what I'm doing. Chapter 4. The Other Beauties. The orientation hall was a prism of sound and light. As Isla entered, the walls bloomed with color in response to the gathered contestants, reacting to their biosignatures. Sylve had explained earlier. The room felt alive, pulsing with anticipation. Dozens of chairs floated in mid-air, forming a loose circle beneath a vast dome showing a rotating star map of the galaxy. Isla stood near the entrance, suddenly aware of every inch of dust still clinging to her boots. She smoothed her shirt and scanned the room. The other contestants were already mingling, and they were impossible to ignore. To her left, a figure in flowing robes that sparkled like dark matter laughed, revealing rows of translucent teeth. Her skin was pale, violet, marked with silver runes that moved when she did. Two glowing orbs hovered behind her shoulders like silent guardians. I handcrafted my gown using void thread spun from a black hole, she told a small crowd. It only screams when it's bored. To Ayla's right, a contestant floated cross-legged, surrounded by a halo of golden rings. His body flickered like sunlight on water, constantly shifting shape between a boy, a beast, and something winged. A few contestants kept a cautious distance, and in the center of it all stood the one that made Isla's stomach drop. A girl with obsidian skin that shimmered like oil in sunlight, wearing armor made of polished crystal. Her eyes burned like twin suns. She held herself like a queen, or maybe something older. She glanced at Isla, then looked away. Tavi, the aquatic girl from earlier, popped up beside her, holding 2 glasses of some blue, fizzy drink. You're gonna want this, she whispered, handing Isla one. That's Xanthi. From Arca Prime. Don't let the beauty fool you. She's dangerous. What kind of dangerous? The might seduce the judges, sabotage your routine, and still smile sweetly while doing it kind. Tavi took a sip and made a face. It tastes like artificial moonlight. Do you actually like anyone here? Tavi shrugged. You seem real. I like real. Alice smiled, grateful, before they could say more. The room dimmed. A column of light appeared at the center, and Madame Cora's voice filled the dome. Contestants, welcome! You're the brightest stars of your worlds. But remember, a star that burns too brightly may collapse under its own weight. The light vanished. Wow, Tavi said. She's really into poetic doom. Alia turned back toward the crowd, now settling into the floating chairs. She chose one on the edge, feeling like an observer more than a participant. Xanthi took the seat dead center. Others followed. A boy with leaves for hair who smelled like ozone and spice. A glowing-eyed twin pair that always spoke in unison. A shapeshifter whose form rippled like liquid glass. Every one of them looked like they belonged. Regal, alien, beautiful. Alice sat quietly, heart pounding. What did she have to offer? She wasn't covered in gemstones or trained in 10 languages. She knew how to fix a broken water line. How to survive a sandstorm. Would that be enough? Then the boy next to her leaned over and whispered, "Don't worry. First impressions are just an illusion." She turned. He looked completely human. Short, dark curls, warm brown skin, and sharp green eyes. But he had no shadow. "Thanks," she said. "I'm Isla. I'm Kay, from Niue. We used to be a floating city until a sunstorm burned our sky off." "Oh," she said. "That's intense," it was. "You'd be surprised what beauty survives when everything else burns." He smiled, and for the first time that day, Isla didn't feel entirely out of place. Chapter 5, The First Challenge, at Dawn. A chime rang through the walls of Isla's suite, melodic, clear, and completely unignorable. She groaned into her pillow. "Already?" Silva's voice floated through the intercom. "Miss Isla, your presence is requested at the observatory arena. First challenge briefing begins in 30 minutes. I've laid out several outfit options, most of them dignified." Isla rolled out of bed and blinked blearily at the floating closet were open before her. The clothes shimmered, iridescent capes, sleek jumpsuits, a dress that seemed to be woven from mist. She hesitated, then grabbed a fitted jacket and utility boots. Function over flair. As she stepped into the hallway, Tavi was waiting, arms crossed and eyes half-lidded with sleep. "You too, huh?" Tavi muttered. "I had a dream. I was eaten by a talking pearl. This better not be a prophecy." The observatory arena was nothing like Isla expected. Rather than a stadium or stage, it was a hollow sphere made of glass and starlight floating high above Verilex. The floor beneath their feet was transparent, revealing the planet spinning far below. As if they stood on the skin of space itself, contestants floated into the sphere one by one, most looking unfazed. Others flashing smiles or adjusting their elaborate ensembles. Then Madame Quara appeared, this time seated within a throng of orbiting moons. Her form shimmered between genders, species, and scales, humanoid, winged, amorphous, never settling, contestants. She began, voice resonating without echo. "The celestial crown is not given lightly. Beauty is only the beginning. The first challenge is one of intellect and presence." A few contestants straightened. Others smirked. "You will answer a single question," Cora continued. "The same for each of you. Not with rehearsed answers. Not with charm alone. But with truth." Murmurs rippled through the group. Tavi leaned in. "Bet it's something like, 'What does beauty mean to you?' They love that one." Quara raised a hand, and the question is, silence fell. The stars seemed to dim. "What does your world fear most?" Ala froze. Not what they loved or celebrated. What they feared. One by one, the contestants stepped forward to speak. Xanthi went first, her voice smooth and commanding. "On Arca Prime, we fear decay, the slow rot of systems once perfect. We do not die easily, and so we fear irrelevance." A few nodded in approval. The gemstone-haired girl said, "We fear silence. My planet communicates in harmonic resonance. When silence falls, it means something terrible has happened." Another contestant, the shapeshifter, morphed into a crumbling statue and whispered, "We fear the loss of identity." When it was Ayla's turn, her palms were sweating. She stepped forward, aware of every gaze fixed on her. She took a shaky breath. My world fears being forgotten. A pause. She looked up at the dome of stars, her voice steadier now. Pharaoh's 9 used to have oceans, cities, culture. Then the drought came. People left. The rest of us stayed behind and made do with less. The galaxy barely remembers we exist. We're not strategic, not rich, not dangerous. We just survive. She looked directly at Quora. So, yeah, we fear becoming dust. But we also know how to live in it. Silence, then a soft ripple of reaction. Not applause, exactly, but a shift in mood. A reconsideration. Alice stepped back, heart hammering. Tavi gave her a small nod. Kay, the shadowless boy, followed her. We fear memory, he said, because remembering the sky we lost still hurts. The challenge ended with a flare of white light. Quora rose from her moon throne. You have been seen, she said. Your truths will echo. Then she vanished. Back in the hallway, Isla exhaled slowly. That went okay, she said. Tavi clapped her on the shoulder. You hit them with dust and honesty. They didn't know what to do with it. I love it. Kay appeared beside them, hands in his pockets. It wasn't loud, but it'll linger. Alice smiled faintly. For the first time, she didn't feel like just a girl from a forgotten planet. She felt like a contender. Chapter 6. Secrets Under the Surface. Later that night, the crown spire felt different. The halls were quieter. The walls, normally pulsing with soft color and ambient music, had gone dim, as if holding their breath. Even the floating gardens outside Isla's window swayed less, like the whole world was trying not to be heard. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. The stars above weren't real, just projections, but still. She watched them flicker as if they might whisper something. A soft chime broke the stillness. She sat up, her door panel glowed faintly. A message blinked, an unfamiliar script, then translated. Suite 27C, midnight. Come alone. Don't ask questions. Ayla stared. Her finger hovered over the delete button. But then curiosity, and maybe something deeper, pushed it aside. She found Suite 27C tucked in a lesser-traveled wing of the crown spire. Behind a false mirror that shimmered with glitching code, the door slid open silently as she approached. Inside, the lights were low. The furniture was minimal, but the air was dense with secrets. Tavi was already there, pacing. Alla blinked. You sent the message? No, Tavi said, turning. I got one too. From the corner, another figure emerged. Kay. His expression was more serious than Isla had ever seen. It wasn't me either, but someone clearly wants us talking. Tavi crossed her arms. Well, we're here, so talk. Kay reached into his jacket and pulled out a thin metal disc, placing it on the floor. A soft pulse spread outward, forming a sound-dampening field. Just in case the walls have ears. They definitely do, Tavi muttered. Kay looked at Isla. You noticed it, didn't you? After the challenge today. Isla hesitated. What exactly? He leaned closer. The rankings. What rankings? They're not public, but I caught a glimpse in one of the scrolls Madame Cora's assistant dropped. There's a private scoring system. The judges aren't just watching our performances, they're tracking something else. Tavi rolled her eyes. Like what? Grace? Hair shine? No, Kay said. Influence. Impact. Potential. Isla frowned. That's vague. Exactly, he said. And that's not all. Contestants have gone missing in past cycles. Tavi stopped pacing. Wait, what? Kay nodded. I did my research. There's barely any footage of the 400-second pageant. 3 contestants were quietly removed. No explanation. Isla's skin prickled. And you think that could happen again? Kay looked between them. I think it already has. He tossed a glowing tab onto the table. A hologram spun up, displaying a contestant Isla hadn't seen before. Long silver hair, horned crown, eyes like mirrored glass. Her name was Sindril from a planet called Varios. She arrived 2 days before we did, assigned to Suite 8B. Ayla's brow furrowed. So where is she now? Exactly. Her name's been scrubbed from all current records. Her room's empty. Tavi looked uneasy now. So what are you saying? Someone's removing contestants? I'm saying this isn't just about gowns and talent shows, Kay replied. There's a game being played under the surface. Political. Maybe worse. Ayla swallowed. And we're the pieces. They stood in silence for a long moment, the hum of the dampening fields surrounding them. Then Tavi said quietly, I thought this was our chance. Our one shot to matter. Kay looked at her. Maybe it still is. But we need to be careful, watch each other's backs. He turned to Ayla. Especially yours. Ayla raised an eyebrow. Why mine? Because your score just spiked after today's challenge, he said. You went from unknown to wildcard. That kind of rise puts you on people's radar. Tavi nodded, and people on the radar? They tend to disappear. Later, as Ayla walked the quiet halls back to her suite, her thoughts buzzed louder than the walls. She'd come here thinking she was playing in a pageant. Now, it felt more like a battlefield. And she wasn't sure who the real enemy was. Chapter 7. The Talent Show. The talent showcase was not held in a theater. It was held in orbit. The contestants were escorted aboard a rotating glass stage suspended above Verilex's atmosphere, tethered only by shimmering energy bands. Beneath them, the swirling clouds of the planet. Above them, the deep stretch of stars. Around them, thousands of interstellar viewers tuning in through live feed across the galaxy. The stage itself adjusted to each performer's talent, morphing, growing, shrinking, adapting in real time. It was alive in its way. Ayla stood backstage, wrapped in her chosen outfit, a simple garment from her home planet. Sand-colored, woven by hand, etched with symbols of rainfall and survival. She felt completely out of place. Next up, called the voice of the announcer, smooth and polished, we welcome Xanthi of Arca Prime. The stage darkened, then exploded in crystal light. Xanthi stepped forward, arms raised, her body gleaming with solar threads. She began a dance that folded time. Each movement left a trail of golden after-images, multiplying into ghost versions of herself that wove in and out like a kaleidoscope. Behind her, celestial projections bloomed. Her people, their empire, their victories. It was mesmerizing, flawless. When she finished, the audience erupted in digital applause. Judges murmured into their comes. A burst of starlight marked her retreat. Ayla swallowed. Her palms were sweating. Tavi nudged her. Hey, just remember what you're good at. Ayla laughed nervously. Getting dirt under my nails? No. Being real. Now go show them. She stepped onto the stage. Everything went quiet. The announcer's voice echoed. Ayla of Theros 9. Category: Original composition. No shimmering projections. No soundscape. Just a solitary spotlight. Ayla adjusted the small device strapped to her wrist, a harmonizer she'd modified herself, and took a breath. Then she spoke. Where I'm from, she said softly, beauty doesn't come easy. It doesn't sing. It doesn't sparkle. It survives. She tapped the device. A slow rhythm began, the sound of wind through broken solar panels, water dripping from a condensation rig, the hum of sand against steel. She layered in the sound of her own heartbeat. Then she began to tell a story, not perform, tell. About a girl born under twin suns. About dust storms that carved entire villages off the map. About dancing alone beneath dead stars. About watching ships pass overhead, wondering what it would be like to matter. Her voice didn't boom, but it carried. She ended with a sound, rain, dot, comma, simulated, yes. But somehow, wholly, when the lights dimmed, the audience was still. No explosion of applause, just stillness, like the moment after a storm ends. Then the stage faded. Backstage, Ayla exhaled. Her knees felt weak. Tavi grabbed her and spun her around. You killed it! I didn't even dance. Exactly! You spoke truth. No one else dared to. Kay appeared beside them. You weren't a performance. You were a message. But not everyone was impressed. Xanthi passed by, pausing just long enough to murmur, cute. But pity doesn't win crowns. Isla met her gaze. Neither does fear. They stared at each other for a beat too long, then Xanthi turned and glided away, her crystalline heels never touching the floor. Later that evening, as scores quietly updated behind closed doors, Sylve delivered Isla a sealed data scroll from Madame Quora, he said, almost unreadable. Encrypted. High clearance. She opened it. A single sentence flickered into view. Stars are brightest just before they collapse. Be careful what you ignite. Isla stared at the words, then at her reflection in the silver wall. She didn't feel like the same girl who had stepped onto the transport days ago, and if this was only the beginning. She wasn't sure how much more truth the galaxy could handle. Chapter 8. Love, Lasers, and Lies. The days after the talent showcase were a blur of whispers, stares, and subtle shifts. Where before, Isla had been overlooked, now eyes lingered on her. The judge's assistants watched her more closely. Contestants offered her polite smiles with sharp edges behind them. But not all the attention was hostile. Nice story, desert girl, came a voice behind her one morning. Isla turned. The contestant standing there was new to her, or maybe she'd just never looked closely. A sleek, androgynous figure with copper-toned skin and a gentle glow to their eyes, like twin embers. They wore a uniform of clean lines and mirrored fabric, no frills. I'm Riven, they said, offering a hand. From Castile Station? Castell? Isla shook their hand cautiously. Isn't that a military world? Sort of. A station built in the aftermath of a war. I was raised between force fields and fallout. So, your rain story? Hit hard, Isla gave a small smile. Thanks. Most people seem to think I cried for attention. No, Riven said, you made the stars cry. That's harder. They walked with her toward the garden terraces, where contestants often trained or cooled off between challenges. The air shimmered faintly with humidity and alien pollen. Isla found herself relaxing just a little around Riven, maybe because they didn't seem to want anything from her. Or maybe because they weren't trying to shine. They were just present. But the quiet didn't last. A scream tore through the garden a moment later. An explosion of light erupted in the sky above the terraces. Not fireworks, not decoration. A laser discharge. Alla and Riven ran. Near the amphitheater rehearsal dome, smoke billowed from a shattered drone, its parts twitching and sparking across the marble floor. Contestants gathered around, murmuring. A medic drone hovered over a figure curled on the ground. TVI. Alla rushed forward. Tavi groaned, sitting up with scorch marks on her shoulder. I'm fine. It missed. What was that? Riven demanded. Kay appeared behind them, his face grim. Sabotage. That drone wasn't part of the routine. It had a target lock system. Ella's heart dropped. You think someone sent it after her? Tavi winced, clutching her shoulder. If they did, they better hope they finish the job next time. Security swept in moments later. Questions were asked. Footage was reviewed. But within an hour, the incident was labeled a malfunction. Case closed, except no one believed that. That night, Isla paced her suite, restlessly replaying everything. The drone, the smoke, the blood. Her screen chimed. Riven's face appeared in a soft amber hall. You okay? They asked. Isla hesitated. I don't know what's happening anymore. First, Syndrel disappears. Now, Tavi gets nearly blasted mid-rehearsal. There's rot in the system, Riven said. Always has been. But someone's accelerating it. Why? Maybe because the wrong people are rising too fast. A beat, you mean me? I mean, you're not playing their game. That's threatening. They can't control it. Isla looked down. I didn't come here to threaten anyone. No, but sometimes truth is a threat. Their eyes met, even through the screen. There was silence. Then Riven added quietly, "For what it's worth, I'm glad you're here." The line disconnected. Isla stared at the blank screen, pulse racing for reasons that had nothing to do with lasers. Later that night, under the artificial starlight of the Crown Spire's highest dome, Isla met with Kay and Tavy in secret. "She's okay," Kay said. "Sore, but alive." Tavy shrugged. "Nothing a salt bath and revenge won't fix." "I think Riven might be on our side," Isla said. Kay nodded slowly. "I've been watching them. Quiet, steady, no alliances. Could be real, could also be bait," Tavy warned. "Just be careful, Isla." She would be. But later, lying awake in bed, Isla realized something had shifted. She wasn't just a contestant anymore, she was a symbol. A target. A spark, and sparks, when surrounded by the right pressure, don't just burn, they explode. Chapter 9. The Final Stage. Alice stood at the edge of the broadcast platform, staring at the galaxy. The final challenge loomed across the stars. Millions, maybe billions of viewers waited to watch each contestant deliver their final speech. No glitter, no gowns, no talent. Just a voice, a message, and the truth of who they were. She wasn't sure which part scared her more. The speech, or what it might change behind her. The other finalists waited, spaced evenly along the platform. Only 5 remained. Xanthi of Arca Prime, radiant as ever, clad in armor that shimmered like the inside of a comet. Kay of Nue, eyes sharp, hands steady, already watching her. Tavi of Karezavan, bruised, resilient, quietly humming to herself. Riven of Kestel Station, calm, unreadable, standing with their arms behind their back like a soldier waiting for orders. And Isla of Theros 9, a desert girl with a patched jacket and a cracked voice. Somehow still standing, Madame Quora appeared in a shimmer of prisms. "Finalists," she said, voice echoing across the stars. "This is your moment of transmission. Your words will be sent to every planet, station, and system that tuned in. This is not a test of beauty, not even of charisma. It is a test of influence." She paused. "The crown does not go to the most beloved. It goes to the most believable." Then she vanished, leaving only silence. Isla's screen flickered to life with a private message. "You're tied for the top spot. Say the wrong thing, and you'll lose everything. Say the right thing, and the galaxy changes." She stared at it, her hands trembled. "You okay?" Riven asked softly. She turned. Their expression was unreadable. "I don't know what I'm supposed to say." Riven took a breath. "Then, say what they don't expect." Xanthi went first. Her speech was elegant, poised, commanding. She spoke of legacy, tradition, duty. She invoked history, honor, and her planet's ancient empire. The crowd roared. Tavi followed, raw, funny, and fiery. She talked about the ocean trenches her people lived in, about rising from pressure, about laughing in the face of extinction. Applause followed. Kay's speech was like a poem, beautiful and haunting. He spoke of rebuilding after destruction, of remembering pain without letting it define you. Riven's message was brief, powerful. They spoke of choosing peace after growing up surrounded by war, of refusing to be shaped by violence. Then, it was Ayla's turn. She stepped forward, the light caught her face. Her reflection glimmered faintly in the curved glass beneath her feet. Somewhere beyond it all, her planet spun unnoticed. She cleared her throat. "I don't have a throne to return to," she began. "No underwater city, no floating palace, no heritage of gold." Her voice was soft. Unpolished, I come from a place most of you have never heard of. A dust-covered world with no strategic value, no resources worth fighting over, and no reason for the galaxy to care. She let the silence stretch. But here's the thing, we kept going, we keep surviving. Without help, without attention, without recognition. She stepped forward, eyes fierce now. You asked us to define beauty, then tested our intelligence, our talents, our charm. But what if beauty isn't something you display? What if it's something you endure? Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. I don't want to win a crown so I can be worshipped. I want to build something with it. I want the galaxy to see what's been ignored, to see the strength in dust, in silence, in survival. She looked directly into the lens. My name is Isla of Theros 9, and I will not disappear. She stepped back, chest heaving. The silence after was long, longer than the others, then applause. Thunderous, global, real came at her eyes. Nodded once, Tavi smiled through tears, even Riven's lips twitched into something like hope. But Xanthi didn't clap, she simply turned, arms crossed, eyes dark with calculation, the stage dimmed. The judges withdrew. The crown would be decided now, but Isla already knew. She'd chosen the harder path, and that choice, not the crown, might be what changed everything. Chapter 10. The Crown and Beyond. The throne room of Verilex was carved from pure light. Literally, latticed beams of photonic energy spiraled overhead, forming columns and arches that changed color as you moved. A single golden crown floated at the center, suspended between gravity fields, pulsing like a heartbeat. Isla stood with the other 4 finalists in a circle, each one lit by a column of white light. Madame Quara hovered above them, suspended on a platform of orbiting moons. All scores have been tallied. Quara announced, her voice solemn, celestial. Votes, impact analysis, influence projections, public sentiment, galactic reach. She paused, scanning them all with eyes that had no pupils. And the celestial crown goes to? Alla closed her eyes. Alla of Theros 9, gasps echoed through the chamber. She didn't open her eyes immediately, couldn't. Her breath caught in her throat. When she did look up, the crown had descended, gently circling above her head like a second sun. The others watched her, stunned, proud, unreadable. Tavi whooped and threw both arms into the air. Kay grinned, his eyes full of unshed tears. Riven gave her a small, respectful nod. Xanthi? Xanthi was already turning away. As the crown settled onto her brow, Isla could feel it. Not the weight. It was surprisingly light, but the pressure of eyes across the galaxy. Billions of beings watching her in real time, she had become a symbol of something new, something they weren't sure how to define yet. Quara raised a hand. The crown is not an end, she said. It is a beginning. Isla of Theros 9, do you accept this responsibility? Alla swallowed, then stepped forward, voice steady. I accept it. But not for myself alone, she looked at the others. At the crowd, at the stars. I accept it for the overlooked, the forgotten. The ones who live without light and shine anyway. The chamber exploded into golden beams that night after the ceremony. Isla found herself alone on the crown spire's highest balcony. The stars stretched forever in every direction. She heard the soft sound of footsteps. You're not hiding, are you? Riven asked, stepping into the glow. No, she said. Just thinking about what? She held up her hand, watching the way the crown reflected the starlight. About what happens next. They want me to tour, speak, endorse brands, appear in 10 systems in 10 days. Riven leaned on the railing. You don't have to play their game, but I do, she said, just not their way. A pause. I want to start something, Isla added. A scholarship, a project, a station maybe. For kids from forgotten places. For people like me. Riven smiled. That's a good use of power. She looked at them. Will you help me? They nodded. Always. She didn't know what would come next. Politics, sabotage, new enemies, maybe even war. A crown didn't stop storms from coming. But maybe it helped you stand taller when they did. And maybe, just maybe, it helped you change the weather. Far below on Theros 9, the rains had started again for the first time in decades. Children danced in muddy streets, their faces turned skyward. And in every corner of the galaxy, people whispered her name. Not because she was perfect, not because she was powerful, but because she had made them feel seen, and that was a beauty no crown could hold.